Am I the a-hole for not contributing to my family's expenses related to my wedding? Am I the a-hole for thanking my son's teacher for not letting his dad take him home even though we had agreed that he would? Am I the a-hole for refusing to continue being a carer to disabled brother and refusing my mother's desperate requests to do so? Am I the a-hole for not contributing to my family's expenses related to my wedding? My fiance, 26 female, and I, 28 male, are getting married at a destination wedding next summer. The destination is special to my fiance as she vacationed there with her family a couple times when she was younger, and it holds sentimental value to her. I was open to the idea since I am pretty indifferent when it comes to wedding planning, and this seemed like an easy way to check a lot of boxes at once. Plus, the added bonus of my fiancé getting a wedding she dreamed about. Of course, the downfall of a destination wedding is that people might not be able to attend. We expected this and had a lot of conversations about making sure we don't take anything personally if people can't attend, and we were very clear to the people we asked to be in our wedding party about the costs and expectations. There were a couple friends I asked to be groomsmen that had to decline due to them having young kids, and I totally get that and respect it. I am not an idiot. My wedding is not more important than your kids to you. This hasn't been as much of a problem with my fiance's side, as her family comes from money and destination weddings are kind of the norm for them. In the meantime we've dated, I think 4 to 5 of her cousins have had destination weddings, but we only attended one of them and there was no fuss on anyone's part about the ones we didn't go to. My family, however, does not come from money. When I told my parents and siblings about our wedding plans, they all kind of freaked out about not being able to afford it. I get it. My siblings have kids and expenses too. I told them I understand if it's not something they're able to afford, and while I would love for them to be there, I won't hold it against them if they can't make it work. My parents have guilted me over it a little bit, but have assured me they will be attending. However, they told me that we should all pool some money together, and by all, they mean mostly me, to make sure all my siblings and their families can attend. I told them there is pretty much no way I can do that. My 2 sisters got wind of this idea, probably from my mom, and they said that the only way they can attend is if I help pay for at least half of their trips for their whole families, kids included. I kind of laughed at that and told them there is no way I will do that. They said that since I am the one who decided to have a destination wedding, that it is my responsibility to make sure my family can all attend. I told them that I love them and would love to have them at my wedding, but I'm not funding vacations for their entire family. I said the only way I would even consider it would be if it was just them and their spouses, no kids. They said that excluding their kids was not acceptable. They told me that I have turned into a stuck-up a-hole since I got engaged, and I am robbing my fiancé's money in their faces. They accused me of having a destination wedding on purpose to rub it in their faces that they can't afford something yet.
NTA, you've made it clear you wouldn't be mad if they weren't able to come, so if they insist on being there it's their responsibility. Moreover, excluding kids isn't that weird. I know many people who have done weddings insisting that kids were not invited at all. Again, it's their kids. If they want to bring them, they gotta pay for it. And personally as a kid, I remember weddings to be a bore anyway. As for your parents, I understand them wanting to be there, but again you don't owe them that. The invitation was extended. Whether they can afford it or not, it's up to them. Aside from that, if you actually wanted to rub your fiancé's money in their face, wouldn't you pay for the trip? Their logic is totally flawed. Boy vey. It sounds like you have carefully crafted expectations where you are understanding if people don't or can't come. But you didn't anticipate there would be people who wanted to come and feel unable to do so. Well, you have made peace with proceeding without them in attendance. They feel hurt because, although invited, they are unable to attend. If you truly feel that contributing to the pot makes you a de facto vacation underwriter, then offer to do a smaller gathering more local to them. Essentially, they are family and want to show up for you. If you dismiss their attempts as unnecessary and aren't bothered by their absence, then it is what it is, and they're likely expressing the underlying hurt behind that fact. Imagine your wedding day surrounded by your fiancé's family, and all the photography and memories on that day will reflect those people in attendance. It does set up an expectation of pay to play that will leave your family out. Distance and expenses and budgets can cast long shadows in not only participation, but expectation of events and social connections. Money has an odd seductive power that can command all kinds of things. Is that what you want driving the bus, or would you prefer other values to be acknowledged and included in your decision-making? Ask yourself if you are comfortable establishing a pattern of hosting events where her family is comfortable, but your family is unable to come. NTA, it's crazy to think it's mandatory for you to pay their expenses for a wedding. But you should realize that they feel excluded. You've set a bar they can't reach, and your family probably thinks you should make this big event accessible to parents and siblings because they want to be a part of your big day, even if you don't think weddings are important. Imagine your daughter marries way up, and her multi-millionaire husband wants to have a wedding in Dubai and will cost easily $30,000 to attend, or if you're Resh in this scenario. You might feel a little excluded too. Why isn't your daughter trying to make things possible where you can participate? Mom and dad want siblings to participate too, because family feels good and stuff. Rich husband isn't required to buy your tickets and hotel, but you might not like it that they picked a wedding plan that you just can't participate in. You're not wrong, but you shouldn't be surprised that they're upset and want you to do more to make it accessible to them and include them in your major life events.
Am I the a-hole for thanking my son's teacher for not letting his dad take him home even though we had agreed that he would? My son is 4 and only started school full-time this year. My ex has only been to the school twice since our son started, which was on the first day and the last day for his first week. My ex volunteered to pick him up yesterday. Our son's school usually keeps all of the children inside the classroom, and then the teacher will call them out one by one as their parents, guardians come to collect them. So when my ex told the teacher he was out there to pick up our son, he was told she would need to contact me before she let our son leave with him, as I hadn't informed the school someone else would be collecting our son today. My ex got annoyed because she had met him before and she wouldn't let our son confirm he was who he said he was. In the end, I was called to the school to collect our son. When I got there, she explained that they did this for the safety of the students, and that in the future could I please inform the school if anyone that wasn't me would be coming to collect my son so that they were aware. I said thank you to her because it was great to know that the school took my son's safety so seriously. My ex is angry at me for thanking the teacher and said I shouldn't have when she was acting like an idiot, as she clearly had met him before and our son would have recognized him. He thinks as our son's dad, he shouldn't need my permission to collect his own son, and he was angry at me for coming to collect him instead of just insisting the school let my ex bring him home. He went on and on about it and told me he would be changing our son's school since this was never where he wanted to send him and he was the one paying for it. I told him he was just angry because someone didn't just give him what he wanted like he was used to. Am I the a-hole?
YTA. He's right. He shouldn't need your permission to pick his own son up. Why is he not on record with the school in the first place? That's a normal part of paperwork when signing a kid up for school. Then they just ask for ID unless they recognize you. On top of that, you knew ahead of time he was coming to pick him up and you didn't alert them. And then to exacerbate the issue, you came to pick him up yourself instead of telling them that was his dad and he was authorized to pick him up. AITA. I don't think the teacher should be yelled at for doing her job, but you should have had dad on the paperwork to begin with. Editing again because I saw your comment that said dad is on the paperwork as the dad and there is no other list for pickup and your mom hasn't had any issues picking him up. You're lying about something here. All the school had to do was ask for his ID to verify he's the father if they don't recognize him. The schools are assholes too for not doing this, and the teacher should not have been thanked. She didn't do her job as she didn't ask for ID. YTA for not communicating to the school that your ex was picking up as agreed. You also said something interesting in regards of your ex not agreeing or wanting him to go to that particular school, but your kid still attends there. It sounds like there is some sort of custody agreement between the two of you. You also mentioned your ex refusing to pay for this particular school anymore. That being said, it really sounds like you wasted his time knowing that would upset him and make yourself look good in the process. It also sounds like the teacher met dad before and you set this up to make him look bad. As a former preschool teacher, this whole situation is weird and not okay for your child. I had multiple children in split custody situations. Once I knew who was both parents where I didn't question why one parent was there over the other. Also, the school should have an emergency contact sheet with everyone that is permitted to pick up, grandparents, friends of parents, or aunts uncles to name a few. I would just check a state-issued ID against a name on the emergency contact card and let the child go if it checked are. Not okay for your son to see his father questioned and second-guessed at pick up to the point that mom had to come verify and pick up child. Info: what exactly is the school policy? For example, I'm listed as an approved pick-up person for my niece for her school, but I have to show my ID at the front office, so I'm not sure why your school didn't do any due diligence to verify your ex was allowed to pick him up. Is there only one approved person and you have to let the school ahead of time about anyone else? I don't know of many schools that do it like that, but there are some, and this sounds like a private school, since your ex is paying for it, so their policy could be just about anything. Policies like any of these exist because the vast majority of missing children are abducted by a parent or family member, so your ex needs to get his shit together and be there for his kid if he wants to be trusted by the school. I mean, your ex sounds like a piece of work, and the fact that he's not there enough for the teacher to recognize him is very telling. Additionally, he's willing to uproot his kid's entire school life and friend circle because he didn't get his way, and that is just major asshole vibes. Men are not babysitters. We are full parents. Unless you have a custody arrangement that says otherwise, your son's father should not be required to jump through hoops to pick him up from school. You shouldn't have thanked the teacher. You should have apologized to your ex for dropping the ball and the teacher for making the situation awkward. As an expat, I've had to cross borders with my daughter solo, as has my wife. 2 of the 3 times I've done so, I've been asked if I have permission to bring my daughter into the US by CBP. Neither time did anything they do actually prove I had permission, but hoops must be jumped through. My wife has never been asked. Not once. YTA, and also importantly, the teacher is also TA. The amount of sexism here is astounding, but not particularly surprising.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to continue being a carer to disabled brother and refusing my mother's desperate requests to do so? I, 28, really guilty for refusing to be a carer to disabled brother, 20 male, severely autistic, aggressive, needing constant supervision and nonverbal to save my mental and physical health. I recently enrolled on an accounting and finance course at university, but because of my health, I had to ask if I could study online from home. I was too embarrassed to be in my state on campus. The meltdowns of my brother was damaging my health. He denied me sleep, so much so that it would exacerbate my skin condition and ruin the progress in health. This is a large reason why I haven't recovered. Stress aggravated my skin so much. I phoned a sibling, 30, female, caught an Uber and moved in after an argument with my mother, 50, female, regarding his care. I rejected her request for me to be a carer for my brother, but I feel torn. I will drop out and give up on my education if I stay with him. My health is declining. Update: I made arrangements for my mother and sister to attend an appointment with a social worker, doctors, and occupational therapists a day after I left. He's going to need professional care, and my sister has convinced my mother to accept this. So am I the a-hole for putting myself first by refusing to be a carer after already doing it for over 10 years?
NTA: he's your brother, not your baby. And he's also NTA. Your mother, however, is a massive AH. If you've been taking care of him for over 10 years at your age, you were yourself a minor when it started. Parentification is a form of abuse. Were you ever allowed to just be a child after his issues manifested? Did your parents ever look after you after he arrived in your lives? If not, you'll want to seek out therapy because you need help to realign your priorities. The fact that you feel guilty for keeping yourself safe and healthy is a massive warning sign that you have been brainwashed to prioritize others above yourself no matter the cost. If you don't get this sorted, it's likely to haunt your future relationships with partners and make you vulnerable to abusers and predators. Please seek some counseling. You deserve to feel good and happy. You need to be healthy. Your brother deserves and needs professional, skilled, trained help, not a sibling working themselves to the bone. Think of your situation as a shipwreck. Your ship went down in a storm, and now you and your mom are in the water, struggling to keep your heads above the surface. You're both exhausted and scared. Thankfully help is coming. You've spotted a small boat, and they've thrown out some life preservers to escape. You are trying to grab onto a life preserver so you can get pulled into the boat to safety. Your mom is in a blind panic and is trying to grab onto you to keep afloat instead of grabbing her own life preserver. This action won't save her, it just makes it harder for you to keep your head above water and will eventually lead to the both of you drowning. You're NTA for admitting that you're in over your head and just can't handle taking care of your brother anymore. Your needs and well-being matter too. You can't help your mom or your brother if you're so overwhelmed and physically unwell that you can't function. You also can't help them in the future if you've hamstring your ability to provide for yourself by not completing your degree. You did the right thing by getting out of there and encouraging your mom to contact your brother's medical care team. Those professionals are best equipped for helping your brother get the proper care he needs. Not the asshole. Even on the most pragmatic level, ignoring your peace of mind, mental health, and own happiness if you're a wreck, there's no way you can provide adequate care. Should a home nurse show up to take care of a vulnerable patient while exhausted, sick, and burnt out? Of course the fuck not. It is definitely time to take care of yourself. And there might not be an easy solution to this. Families needing a full-time caregiver, which is fucking expensive, often have to do it themselves, and it's a massive drain on psychological and financial resources for the family. But the institutional problems that mean someone who is extremely autistic has to rely on unpaid family labor to take care of them for life, those are not your fault or the fault of your family. Your mother has used and exploited your labor and your youth. If your mother could afford the professional care or it would be covered by insurance, etc., then there has never been any excuse for this bullshit. I'll say this though. ABA is not treatment, it is abuse. If you catch wind of that shit, run. NTA, it's easy to let the ones we love get under our skin. They can pull at our heartstrings like none other. Sounds like your mom may not have your best interest in mind. She is likely exhausted, and rightly so. Raising children is hard regardless. You need to focus on what's best for you. Yes, your brother may desperately need a caregiver, but you did not sign up for that job simply by being born into that family. There are people around for this sort of thing, and if that isn't an option financially, maybe you could work out a schedule between your mother, sister, you, etc. I'm sorry to hear about your situation. Sounds like a tough spot to be in. But at the end of the day, you can't be expected to take on this role. Focus on yourself, keep on your path, and you'll make a good life for yourself. OP, your NTA, think this through. If you continue to handle caretaking, what will happen to you? Your brother is unlikely to change unless he is undergoing constant therapy to improve his behavior. If he has therapy, that's more time of you shuttling him back and forth, as well as coordination with his teachers. It's unclear what improvements he may be capable of. You will continue to have to deal with his outbursts. You'll lose sleep. The stress will continue. This will impact your studies and your health. What will your life look like in 2 years? Will you be successful in school? Will you be resentful of your brother and maybe your mom? I agree with the others here telling you to not take your brother in. Contact social workers and investigate independent caretakers and possibly either a part-time or full-time home for him. Look for government programs, grants and private funding organizations to help with costs. Go online and check out FB groups and Google support groups who may be able to identify housing and funding. It won't be easy, but long-term, you have to consider your health. If you take him in, then have a physical or emotional breakdown in a year or two, then you certainly can't take care of him, you'll be trying to take care of yourself. Then what happens?